Imagine being told that something simple you do every day could influence how your body responds to cancer. Not a miracle cure, not a secret drug, but a shift in how your body creates its internal environment. For millions of people affected by cancer, either personally or through someone they love, the idea that everyday choices might play a role in health and recovery is both powerful and deeply personal. Cancer often feels like something that happens to us, completely out of our control. But science is beginning to show that the body is not always a passive bystander in this fight. Cancer doesn't start overnight. It develops quietly, as cells lose their normal signals and begin to grow out of control. Along the way, the body's immune system, hormones, and metabolic processes are constantly interacting with these cells. Researchers studying health and wellness have discovered that certain lifestyle patterns can influence inflammation, insulin levels, immune strength, and even a process called apoptosis, programmed cell death, which is one way the body naturally removes damaged or abnormal cells. When these systems are supported, cancer cells may struggle to thrive in the same way. This matters in real life because so many people live with chronic fatigue, unexplained symptoms, poor sleep, constant stress, or unhealthy routines without realizing how deeply these factors affect cellular health. Modern lifestyle habits, what we eat, how often we move, how we manage stress, and how well we rest, shape the internal signals that tell cells whether to grow, repair, or shut down. Wellness is not just about feeling good today. It's about creating conditions in the body that support long-term health. Doctors and researchers are clear. Lifestyle choices are not a replacement for medical treatment, but they are increasingly seen as a powerful support system, one that may influence how the body responds to disease and how resilient it becomes over time. Understanding this connection can change the way we think about prevention, recovery, and daily habits. So what is this one change that science suggests can make cancer cells less comfortable and support the body's natural defenses? And why is it something most people overlook until their health forces them to pay attention? That's the question we need to explore next. To understand why this matters, it helps to look at how cancer develops in the first place. Cancer cells don't just appear out of nowhere. They grow in an environment shaped by long-term habits, internal stress, inflammation, and how well the body regulates energy and repairs damage. Many people experience early warning signs like ongoing fatigue, frequent illness, unexplained weight changes, or a general feeling that something is off, yet these symptoms are often ignored or blamed on a busy lifestyle. Daily habits play a bigger role than most realize. Constant sitting, poor sleep, highly processed foods, chronic stress, and lack of movement can quietly disrupt hormones, weaken immune response, and increase inflammation. Over time, this creates conditions where abnormal cells are more likely to survive and multiply. Real-life experiences often follow a similar pattern. People push through exhaustion, skip self-care, and postpone doctor visits until symptoms become impossible to ignore. What's important to understand is that the body is always communicating at a cellular level. Blood sugar balance, oxygen use, digestion, and stress hormones all send signals that affect cell behavior. When these systems are overwhelmed, the body's natural defenses may struggle to keep up. This doesn't mean one habit causes cancer, but it highlights how lifestyle and wellness influence risk and resilience in subtle ways. So if the body's internal environment matters this much, what happens when that environment begins to change? And why does one specific shift seem to stand out in research and real-world health stories? For many people, the moment cancer enters their life is marked by fear, confusion, and a sudden loss of control. Patients often describe feeling betrayed by their own bodies, wondering how something growing inside them could go unnoticed for so long. Alongside the physical symptoms, pain, fatigue, appetite changes, there's an emotional weight that affects mental health, sleep, and overall wellness. Stress levels rise, routines are disrupted, and everyday life begins to revolve around appointments, tests, and waiting for answers. From a medical perspective, cancer is complex and deeply individual. Doctors focus on genetics, tumor behavior, immune response, and treatment plans. But even within clinical settings, there is growing awareness of how lifestyle factors influence outcomes. Nutrition, physical activity, stress management, and sleep quality are now part of many conversations around supportive care. Still, this creates confusion. Some people mistakenly believe lifestyle changes alone can fix cancer, while others assume habits don't matter at all once a diagnosis exists. Both extremes miss the bigger picture. The reality is that daily choices affect how the body copes with illness. Poor sleep can weaken immune function. Chronic stress can increase inflammation. Inactivity can slow circulation and energy regulation. Over time, these patterns can impact how resilient the body feels, both physically and emotionally. Caregivers experience this too. Burnout, anxiety, and exhaustion often mirror the patient's struggles, showing how deeply health challenges affect entire households. Another common misconception is that warning signs are always obvious. In truth, many early symptoms are subtle and easily dismissed. A little tiredness, mild discomfort, or changes in digestion don't always trigger concern. By the time something feels serious, the body may have been under strain for years. All of this raises an uncomfortable but important question. If cancer is influenced by the environment inside the body, and that environment is shaped by daily habits, emotions, and stress, then which overlooked factor could be quietly tipping the balance? And why do so few people talk about it until it's too late? As the condition progresses, the stakes become harder to ignore. Many people reach a turning point where symptoms can no longer be brushed aside. Persistent pain, sudden weight loss, ongoing inflammation, extreme fatigue, or changes that don't return to normal. These signs often appear alongside emotional strain, where anxiety and fear quietly grow in the background. The body feels weaker, the mind feels overwhelmed, and a sense of urgency begins to take hold. This is usually when people start looking back, wondering what they missed and how long their health was trying to warn them. From a wellness perspective, this stage is critical because the body is under constant pressure. Immune defenses may be stretched thin, stress hormones remain elevated, and recovery becomes slower. Lifestyle patterns that once seemed harmless, late nights, high stress, poor nutrition, lack of movement, suddenly feel heavier, as if they've been adding up all along. Even those without a diagnosis may recognize these warning signs in themselves or loved ones, realizing how fragile long-term health can be. Medical professionals often describe this phase as a crossroads. Decisions matter more, awareness sharpens, and the consequences of neglect become clearer. The challenge is that many people only reach this point after years of imbalance, when reversing damage feels harder and options feel narrower. This is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable but necessary. If the body has been signaling distress for so long, and if certain internal conditions allow disease to gain ground, then understanding what shifts the body from survival to defense becomes urgent. The real question now is what happens just before things change, and whether that moment comes early enough to make a difference. What makes this stage even more unsettling is how often cancer hides in plain sight. Many diagnoses are delayed not because people ignore their health completely, but because symptoms blend into everyday life. Mild pain gets labeled as aging. Digestive changes are blamed on diet or stress. Ongoing fatigue is normalized as a busy schedule. By the time clearer warning signs appear, the body may already be dealing with deeper cellular changes that are harder to detect and manage. There's also a common mistake that quietly raises the stakes, waiting for certainty before taking action. People often tell themselves they'll focus on wellness after a diagnosis, after treatment, or after life slows down. In reality, the internal environment of the body is being shaped every single day, whether attention is paid to it or not. Inflammation, blood sugar imbalance, chronic stress, and poor sleep don't pause while decisions are delayed. Unexpected complications can arise during this period too. Mental health declines, immune resilience weakens, and the body's ability to recover becomes slower. Even those who appear healthy on the outside may be experiencing hidden stress at a cellular level, creating conditions that allow disease to progress quietly. This is the moment where awareness becomes critical. Not because fear helps, but because ignorance can be costly. If small, repeated choices are influencing something this serious, then overlooking them may be one of the biggest risks of all. And that leads to a pressing question. What is the one factor most people underestimate until the damage is already underway? This is where a crucial realization begins to emerge. Researchers and medical experts increasingly agree that cancer cells behave differently depending on the environment they live in. While treatment targets the disease directly, the body's internal conditions, such as inflammation levels, insulin response, immune activity, and metabolic health, can influence how cancer cells survive or struggle. One of the most important discoveries is that when the body shifts out of a constant growth and stress mode and into balance, damaged cells are more likely to be recognized and removed through natural protective processes. What surprises many people is that this shift is not tied to one product, pill, or extreme routine. It's connected to how often the body gets a break from constant stimulation, constant eating, constant stress, constant inflammation. Experts studying cellular health have observed that when the body has time to repair, regulate blood sugar, reduce oxidative stress, and strengthen immune signaling, cancer cells may find it harder to thrive. This doesn't mean cancer disappears, and it doesn't replace medical care, but it changes how the body participates in the fight. Another unexpected insight is how early this process can begin. These internal changes don't wait for a diagnosis. They happen quietly, years before symptoms become obvious. People often assume action only matters when something is wrong, but biology doesn't work on deadlines. It responds to patterns. The responsible takeaway is awareness, not false hope. Supporting wellness through informed lifestyle choices can influence resilience, energy, and long-term health in meaningful ways. And here's the final twist. The most powerful change isn't something dramatic you add, it's often something you stop doing long enough for the body to reset, respond, and protect itself. Understanding what that is, and how it works, may change the way you think about health entirely. So the picture becomes clearer. Cancer is not just about one bad cell, but about the environment those cells exist in. While medical treatment remains essential, the body's daily state of health, wellness, and balance plays a meaningful supporting role. Giving the body regular time to rest and repair, through better sleep, reduced chronic stress, balanced nutrition, gentle movement, and avoiding constant overloading, helps strengthen immune function and supports normal cellular cleanup processes. This is not a cure, but it is a way to stop working against your own biology. For many people, the most practical takeaway is awareness. Notice patterns, not perfection. Are meals spaced in a way that allows the body to regulate blood sugar? Is sleep treated as recovery, not an afterthought? Is stress managed before it becomes a constant signal of danger inside the body? Small lifestyle shifts, practiced consistently, can reduce inflammation, improve energy, and support long-term metabolic health. It's also important to listen to early symptoms instead of dismissing them. Persistent fatigue, unexplained changes, or ongoing discomfort are not weaknesses, they're signals. Paying attention sooner can make a real difference in prevention and overall wellness. The strongest message to leave with is this. Your body is always responding to what you do repeatedly. When you create space for rest, balance, and repair, you give your body a better chance to protect itself. That awareness alone can change how you approach your health from this point forward.